There are 4 basic relationships that all people have with white folks in this country in terms of employment. There are 4 basic relationships. One is the independent contractor. The second is the partnership. Third is the principal agent. And the fourth is the master servant.
Break it down.
That's right.
All right.
That's right.
All right. Those are the 4 relationships that people have in this country with white folks. All right. However, there are only 2 of those ever applies to black people, and that's the agent or the servant.
Yeah, that's right.
There is no black in America, including Colin Powell, who has risen above this line.
Thank you.
Nor can you rise above that line. Either the principal agent or the master servant, a euphemism for slave or enslaved person. All right?
Yeah,
all right? Those are the 4 basic relationships. Now, this, because this is all tied together, one of the real problems in our community is calling things by their wrong name.
Thank you.
One of the great sayings of Confucius is that the beginning of wisdom is calling things by their right name. The beginning of wisdom is calling things by their right name. Now, this is important for this reason. Malcolm would describe these 2 relationships as the house Negro and the field Negro.
That's right.
All right?
That's right.
All right? Now, if Malcolm was here, he would describe these as the field Negro and the house Negro.
Yeah.
All right? Those have always been the only 2 relationships that we've ever had with white folks.
That's right.
All right? Now they're called agents.
Yeah.
All right? And servants.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But it's still the same thing.
Same thing.
Okay? It's still the same thing. Now they're called agents or servants, but they're still the same thing. They're house Negroes and field Negroes.
Yeah.
All right. Now, these 2 right here are only ones that are enjoyed by white people.
That's right.
I don't care if a Negro is in business for himself, he's not an independent contractor. All right? And there's no such thing as a partnership with white people. All right? All right? There's no such thing as that. So we have, this is the height of it. Now, going back to these 2, and remembering that we're talking about language now as well, because we're talking about the things about critical thinking and analysis. All right? And we're talking about why we have been unable to engage in it. All right? The agent the agent's responsibility, always, by law, an agent's responsibility is to collect information. All right, by law. An agent has to be loyal and obedient to his principal. All right? He has to give an accounting to his principal. All right? And he has to not reveal, not keep any secrets from his master. All right? Now, you call your leaders, but your leaders in your community are really what are called
Double agents.
That's right.
okay? All right? That's your leadership. The people that you elect to office, the people that you put in office, that you call leaders, are actually double agents. Okay? Because they appear to be working on your behalf,
Yes.
but they are in fact are working on white
his-
folks' behalf.
Right.
All right? That's a double agent. All right? Case in point.
Break it down.
All of you. Now, understand that I'm not singling these people out because I have any particular vindictiveness for them.
Go ahead.
But I'm only citing them as examples.
Exposure.
Pull it coat, man.
Vernon Jordan.
Go ahead.
Vernon Jordan is the most dangerous Negro in America. All right? The most dangerous Negro in America because of his affiliation. He's affiliated with organizations that no blacks could even get near. The Bohemian Club, the Bilderberg Conference, the Trilateral Commission, all of these operations he's involved in. And so when Clinton came in office, Wild Bill, by some characterization, when Clinton came in office, made Vernon Jordan the transition leader, black people started saying there are good times in America again.
Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right? Because our people does not understand the concept of a double agent.
Yeah.
All right? Do not understand that concept. These things are very simple. A few weeks ago, a brother spoke at the Slave Theater by the name of Captain Yusuf Shaw. Many of you may know Captain Yusuf Shaw. Captain Yusuf Shaw was the East Coast head of the Fruit of Islam during the days of Malcolm X.
Yeah.
All right? Now,
Yeah.
one of the things that he said, which is very critical, but he was quoting Elijah Muhammad. He said that Mr. Muhammad said that there was three things that the black man would never be taught by white people. Business science, or the science of business, military science, and how to mate. Those three things that our people would never be taught. Business science, military science, and how to mate. Never be taught those three things. That's important because when we begin to look at concepts like double agents, that is a military term.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay? That is a military term. All right? The key to that is that in order for us to understand white people, we have to understand military science. In order for us to understand white people. In order for us to understand what is happening with Clinton and Ron Brown and Jocelyn Elders and this guy, all of these people that he has appointed to the cabinet, military science said there's two things that military people must do. They must first engage in deception, and they must engage in surprise. All right? All right? The two things that must be done is deception and surprise. All right? That is what is going on in Washington today. Deception and surprise. All right? However, Calvin Coolidge some time ago made one other important point, because these things have to be remembered. have to be remembered. You know, whenever you are trying to resolve a problem, you can't be floating all over the place. You know what some people are. You know, one day people floating here, next day they're floating there because they are not grounded. All right? You have to really know your environment and the people in the environment, and you have to reduce to certain basic principles that will clearly explain what is taking place. Calvin Coolidge said, the business of America is business.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
All right?
Yeah.
The business of America is business.
Yeah.
Okay? Now that's important. That is important for us to begin to understand where we are headed. Now, the reality of it is that black people in America are not permitted to think critically and analytically. And if they catch you thinking critically and analytically, they're going to deal with that.
Yeah.
Okay? They're going to deal with that. Now let's go back as to why you cannot think critically and analytically. Many of you remember what happened to Dr. Leonard Jeffries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Similarly to Dr. Jeffries was a Dr. Levin. Dr. Levin has not lost anything. All right? Dr. Levin said that we are racially inferior. And Dr. Jeffries said, well, we are the Sun people. The First Amendment protected Dr. Levin, but it did not protect Dr. Jeffries.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
All right? Now, if you ask most people why, what would be the answer?
Racial.
Most people say race, right?
Racism.
Okay? Okay. That is, however, not the primary reason. Racism is not the primary reason. The primary reason why Levin was protected and Jeffries was not is because the First Amendment only protects falsehoods.
Thank you. Teach, brother. Teach. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
The First Amendment only protects falsehoods.
Yeah.
All right? When I was in law school, I remember the professor was getting class and they would say, yes, the Constitution is the greatest document that man has ever drafted. Remember, you probably heard that.
Yeah, yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Greatest document that man has ever drafted.
Yes, it was.
And Negroes say, yes, this is a great document.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though in that document they made us the natural enemies, the white people.
Yeah.
All right? But Negroes say, yes, this is a great document.
Yeah.
All right? Obviously, no thinking going on.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
All right. However, they said of all of the provisions in the Constitution, the most precious provision in the Constitution is the First Amendment. All right? All right? And the question becomes, the question I asked then, well, why is this an important provision of the Constitution? Why is this the most important provision of the Constitution? Why is the First Amendment the most important provision? And I came to the conclusion that the First Amendment is the most important provision of the Constitution because the First Amendment promotes falsehoods. Okay? You have the right to speak freely as long as you're speaking falsely.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And when you get some people that start speaking falsely, like you get Reverend Hoopenholler in the church speaking falsely to his congregation, and then they start speaking falsely to somebody else, then you got a problem on your hands.
Yeah.
All right? Because there can be no critical thinking if everybody engages in fallacies.
Yeah, that's right.
All right? There can be no positive reasoning if you're using fallacious thought processes to come at your conclusions. All right? All right? You can't do it. All right? So the First Amendment was set up to deal with fallacies. Okay? Because white people deal in fallacies. Okay? You know, people ask me, they say, well, do you think the white man's a devil? And I said, well, I don't know if the white man's a devil or not. But he certainly acts like the devil. All right? All right? All right? I don't know if he's the devil or not, but he certainly acts like the devil. All right? All right? Okay? All right? And then, growing up in Georgia, I remember going to church every day, every Sunday. And you know, they would always give you this picture of the devil with his tail and the pitchfork.
Pitchfork. Yeah.
Telling you that if you do wrong, you're going to hell, and you're going to burn for the rest of your life. Well, if there is a hell, we must be in it right now. All right? This must be it. Now, why we're in hell, I don't know. I don't know whether we were banned in some other world or something. All right? All right, I don't know what the deal is, all right? All right? But certainly there's a hell we're living in. Why we got here? All right? Okay? Why we got here, I don't know yet. I'm still working on that. All right? But certainly that's what we're dealing with. Now, when you begin to realize that the people that wrote the Constitution practiced Satanism.
Yes, he did.
Okay? When you begin to understand that, then it becomes very clear that they would say, yes, the First Amendment has to be the most important because we got to promote lies.
Yeah, that's right.
All right? Because if the truth shall set you free, then lies must keep you in bondage. That's the flip side of it, right? I mean, you believe the Bible says the truth will set you free. That means that in order to stay in bondage, you got to have lies. All right? So in order to keep us enslaved, all right, you got to deal with falsehoods. Okay? The second point was, what was interesting is the religious provision. And so people said, well, they got you there, Maddox, because separating church and state, freedom of religion. However, what better way to divide and conquer people if Satan is sitting high and telling you that you can practice 10,000 different religions? Because the more time that you divide up into your gods, the more you're going to be each other's throat.
That's right.
All right? And the only person that's not affected by this is Satan.
That's right.
Because Satan don't believe in none of the gods.
He's the Lord.
All right? All right. The only person that gets away with this is Satan. Or somebody's acting like Satan. Or somebody's practicing Satanism. All right? All right? To tell you can practice all these different religions. All right? Then that becomes obvious. So, therefore, this is the most precious provision of the Constitution. All right? The First Amendment is. Because we have bound ourselves by this provision. Now, people say, well, Columbus was the greatest white man that's ever lived. And he was. He was. All right? Because Columbus did this. Before Columbus, we didn't have to worry about white people. All right? People that was over here in the Americas that had to worry about him. Everybody was safe from white folks until Columbus struck out. All right? And the reason why Columbus struck out is because some brothers from Africa, you know, talking a little bit too much, let them know they were traveling over here. Now Columbus and his boys would not go about 5 miles past out in the Atlantic Ocean because they thought the world was flat. Okay? So we were protected from Columbus and the Europeans because they were engaged in a falsehood. All right? And because they were practicing this fallacy, they refused to go out into the Atlantic Ocean because they didn't know how far they were going until they fell off. Okay? So the world was safe. Okay? As long as they was into their falsehood. Okay? It was only when they found the truth that they were set free to roam and kill everybody around the world.
Yeah.
All right? All right? Okay? All right, so therefore we begin to understand why white people realize the value of false beliefs.
That's right.
Okay? Which is what has killed black people. First of all, believing that the Son of God is blue-eyed and blonde-haired. All right? Just like every church you go in New York, you got a blue-eyed, blonde-haired Jesus. All right? Which is the greatest and the most harmful of all false beliefs. All right? I mean, to have a Bible in the church that describes who Jesus is, and you paint a blue-eyed, blonde-haired, possible devil on your wall is the greatest of all false beliefs. That's right. All right? Right there. All right? I mean, for anybody to believe in that,
you have to be crazy.
You have to be crazy.
Well, we got a lot of others now. Go ahead, bro.
Now, begin to understand this whole notion of false beliefs. Over the holidays, they were showing a nativity scene in Chinatown in New York. And the Chinaman was all dressed up and the whole bit, and they kept having this baby, but I couldn't ever see how this baby looked. You know, so I'm sitting at the tube for about 12 minutes trying to see, well, gee, I want to see how this baby looked. You know what I mean? So that's going to tell me everything about these Chinamen. All right? After 12 minutes, finally the camera showed this baby. It was a Chinese doll as Jesus. And I said, boy, I'm sure glad they ain't coming to the black community. I mean, can you imagine what a nativity scene would have been in the black community?
Yeah.
A blue-eyed, blonde,
White man. That's right.
white dog.
Blue devil.
All right? Can you understand that? So when we began to understand about how to engage in critical thinking and analysis, the first thing that we have to do is to deal with these false beliefs. All right? And to give you an example of that, there are 3 or 4 major Supreme Court decisions. All of them lies. Every decision the Supreme Court ever written about black folk was a lie.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay? Now what white folks do is, after a while, they say, well, we're going to reverse this one because that lie wore out. So then we're going to put a new lie in its place.
In its place.
All right?
Bad.
Okay?
Yeah,
all right?
good.
So therefore, the first fallacy was that we were 3/5.
That's right. So you.
All right? That's a fallacy.
Absolutely.
I mean, anybody who believes that's true, please raise your hand right now. All right? All right, now let's go to the next one. The next fallacy was no Negro has any right that a white man is bound to respect.
Yes.
That's a fallacy.
Absolutely.
All right? That's Dred Scott.
Yeah.
The third fallacy was Plessy versus Ferguson, separate but equal.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That was in 1890. That was a fallacy.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right? Then the fourth fallacy was Brown versus Board of Education.
Yeah.
All right? When they decided Brown versus Board of Education, they said, well, separate but equal was a lie. So now it's Brown versus Board of Education. And to begin to understand how we are not engaged in critical thinking and analysis, Brown versus Board of Education, the whole notion of integration. You know, the theory here is that the only way that black folks could learn was be around white people.
Teach, brother. Yeah. Yeah.
All right? I mean, just like all of the brothers that self-taught themselves in 1800s,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And who became fluent,
Yeah.
and who even in many instances taught white people, they somehow apparently developed this by osmosis because Brown said the only way you can learn something is be with white folks. All right? But when we began to look at this, this is a fallacy. All right? This is a fallacy. I mean, we all know it's a fallacy. I wasn't around white folks. I didn't go to school around white folks. I graduated high school and never was around white folks at all. Never talked about white folks. Never in the presence of white folks. I did all right.
Yeah, you're good.
All right?
Teach you all
right?
Good.
Around the same time, I did all right.
Yeah.
Okay? So obviously, this has to be a lie. All right? But this is why all of this is so important, because we're not engaged in critical thinking and analysis. Okay? The first thing that we need to know is, how did white folks arrive at that conclusion? A, Thurgood Marshall was not rap type. Now I know I'm busting some people's bubble. All right?
Yeah, go
All
ahead,
right?
bro. Teach, bro. Go ahead.
But let's deal with this. If Carter G. Woodson in the 1930s said that I was probably the miseducation of the Negro, then what was Thurgood doing pushing this? I mean, if he had read Carter G. Woodson, miseducated Negro, he should have known better than this.
That's right.
You understand? All right. Now, when he went to South Carolina, he was in federal district court down there to show you how things are. Thurgood did not raise the issue of integration. That wasn't in their briefs. The white man sat on the bench and said, Marshall, I think you need to rephrase your question. And if you do rephrase your question, you might find yourself on the U.S. Supreme Court bench.
Uh-oh.
Because we have a future for y'all.
That's right.
Okay?
Go ahead, teach.
In integration.
Yeah.
And so, in order to arrive at this, what Kenneth Clark did, who was called upon, was to lie.
Yeah.
Because Kenneth Clark came into federal court and testified he gave the dog test to about 12 or 13 kids in South Carolina, and they preferred the white dog. Okay? The fact of the matter is that that wasn't a scientific test, and he knew it. Because before then, he had already went to Massachusetts, where blacks were going to school with whites, and gave them the dog test, and they preferred the white dog over the black dog.
Yeah.
Then he went to Arkansas, where it was all black, gave them the dog test, and they preferred the black dog over the white dog. So why didn't he put that in evidence? Okay? Because the reason why is because what this country had in mind for us. Integration. Where did that concept come from? You know where that concept comes from? No. It doesn't come out of the Constitution. There's no provision in the Constitution that has the term integration. The only time that the word integration comes up in the law at all as a concept is antitrust law. Okay? That's the only time that integration ever comes up. Integration deal with mergers. Okay? Integration deal with mergers. Now, what is one of the consequences of a merger? One of the consequences of a merger is that one of the two who has merged lose identity.
Yeah,
That's right.
Go ahead.
That's right.
Okay?
Uh-huh.
Loss of identity.
Yeah.
That's the consequence of a merger. All right? U.S. Air acquires Piedmont. Piedmont is no longer heard from.
That's right.
All right? White folks acquire black folks. Okay? Black folks no longer heard from. All right? Okay? Loss of identity. Now, what kind of integration was it? We can break it down. Antitrust law. That's one of the greatest areas to study. They don't want you to study that area. I like to study stuff white folks that don't study.
Right.
Don't study.
That's right.
It's a vertical integration. Now remember, I just went back earlier and said, Calvin Coolidge said, the business of America is business. So if you go to white folks with a moral problem, they give you a business solution. All right? I mean, you cannot show me one case where black folk went into court and gave white folks a moral complaint and didn't get a business solution.
Good point.
Yeah.
You understand? See, you control the complaint. They control the remedy.
Yeah. Yes, they do.
All right?
Yeah. See?
And it's the remedy that causes the problem. But you see, again, we're talking about critical thinking and analysis. See, when these things are happening and we're just sitting there watching it happen, then we see our people wiped out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because other people are doing the thinking for us.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Other people are thinking for us, and we end up in this kind of a predicament. All right? Where the concept that we're dealing with now is strictly one of vertical integration, a loss of identity, and this is why our young people have lost their minds, and this is why that those of us who are saying that we got to develop our own knowledge of self, the man said, no, we got to wipe them out.
Mm-hmm. Come on.
Because you're working against their plan.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Their plan is to have you lose who you are.
That's
Yeah.
Okay? Because once you lose who you are, then you can no longer have any confidence in yourself or anybody else that look like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right?
Teach y'all.
All right? So this is what we're talking about when we're talking about having the ability to be able to reason and reason very seriously. All right? And this is the problem why law is a very dangerous instrument to be tampering with, and most Negroes have no business dealing with it.
Yeah.
All right? They have no business in it. I mean, just simple as that. Because you can easily wipe out a people by not knowing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay? You can easily wipe out a people by not knowing what you're doing. In the 1960s, again, we're talking about calling things by their right name. We said there was a civil rights movement. That's another lie. There's never been a civil rights movement in America.
That's right. That's right.
There's never been a civil rights movement in America. Never. That wasn't a civil rights movement. That was a consumer rights movement.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
That was a consumer rights movement.
Okay.
That would give you access. That would give them access to your market.
That's right.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That was a consumer rights movement.
Yeah.
All right, now, it wasn't based on the 14th Amendment. It was based on the Commerce Clause. Check it out. 1964 Amendment was based on the Commerce Clause. Had nothing to do with civil rights. That's consumerism. That's commerce. You see, the beginning of wisdom is calling things by their right name.
Teach, bro.
Okay? That's why it's so dangerous for us to be speaking in an English language.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if we had a discussion here, if we open up this for a discussion, about 30 minutes into the discussion, we'd be fighting each other. And we'd be fighting each other because we can't handle the English language. Because it's the kind of language that invites fights. You have a conversation for about 30 minutes and everybody's getting mad and I'm not going to talk to you no more. You leave me alone. I won't see you no more. And blah, blah, blah. I mean, we've had all that, right?
Oh, yeah.
You cannot liberate yourself by speaking in the English tongue.
That's right.
Okay? Not only is it a very confusing language, Okay,
Yeah.
a hodgepodge. Not only is it very confusing, but in addition to being confusing, it is racist.
Yes.
Okay? But white folks are wordsmiths. Okay? They're wordsmiths. Okay? They sit down and craft language. All right, now let's go back.
Yeah. Break it down.
1865. 1865.
Talk about it.
1863. This is the word that the man gave us. All right? 1863. Then the next, I mean, even today, you start talking about, like I always say all the time, you ever want to get in fight with black folks, start talking about which white president was the best. All right? All right? I mean, if you want to lose your life right there, let's go into Philly and get on the corner and start arguing about white presidents. All right? You will not get off the block. All right? You won't get off the block. But now, we've already talked about integration, and we talk about white folks being wordsmiths. See, every time white people give you a word, it can throw you off track.
Yeah.
See, every time you hear a buzzword in the paper, you got to immediately go and start doing some heavy research on that word. Okay? I mean, that's how complicated this stuff is. I mean, if you are a serious reader of the paper, you can only get past one paragraph a day. Because that's how you be in your library researching that word.
Yeah.
All right? I'm serious.
Yeah.
All right? Really? All right? You only get past one paragraph and you really know what the deal was. Okay? Now, these are two big words, right? I mean, these are two big words white folks always praise. Emancipation Proclamation, integration. All right?
Yeah.
Neither one of these words means freedom.
Good point.
Okay?
That's right. Yeah.
Neither one of these words means liberation. All right? Neither one of them. I mean, white folks haven't given you that word yet. Have you ever seen them use that word?
No.
Huh? In all the time? I mean, any civil rights documents, whatever document, you ever said liberation?
No.
Huh? You ever see them use that word?
They fight you for you.
Huh? And don't they tell you something? Then they gonna talk about we're free? I mean, how can you be free? He won't even use the word or allow you to use the word. All right? Now, when I saw this word, you see, I started looking all over the place, trying to figure out where this word came from. And I found its origin to be in antitrust law. Then I looked at this word. I asked people, I said, well, what does emancipation mean? They said, freedom, brother. It means freedom. All right? It doesn't mean freedom. It never has been freedom. Okay? That was the origin. But see, English is so dangerous because white people plagiarize in English. It's the only language where they pick a look from Rome, where they pick a look from France, Germany, and all the words around the world are put up in English. You start checking out the origin. It has no single origin. Okay, it's a hard part, like a quilt. It goes all over everywhere. Okay, everywhere. Okay, that is done for a purpose. Okay, so when they told you emancipation, they knew it did not mean freedom. They knew that. They knew where it came from when they gave that to us. Okay, this word here, emancipation, comes out of Rome. That's very illustrative for this reason. This word means
Break it down. Transfer ownership.
all right? That word means we just transfer your ownership. Okay? That's what emancipation means. It comes out of Rome. Because the deal is that, hey, at this stage, Mr. Confederate, see, you don't need to keep these people in chains no more. You already got their mind. This stuff ain't, the banking industry, the banking industry, and this comes straight out, many of them were Jewish bankers, German Jewish bankers, say, hey, you ain't got to keep chains on these people no more. Check out their minds. They ain't going nowhere. All right? So let's federalize them. All right? Let's put them under, let's make Uncle Sam their slave master.